Good morning, Brian. I'm just talking to you because you're the vice chair of the committee. And Kai's not on here. I don't know why she's not here yet, but it's 9 o'clock, so we can go ahead and get started. And when Kai joins us, if she does, then she'll take over the meeting. That's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty then. So in that case, calling into session the meeting at 9 a.m. If we could have a roll call starting with the North and then South. I'm sorry, first, the committee members. Brian Baltazar, present.
Tia Latrell McCormick, present.
Roxanne Harris, present.
Already, if there are no more, if we can now have staff roll call starting with the North to South.
Gary Landry, Executive Director, present.
Rodney Moore, Inspector, present.
Michelle Fanning, Inspector, present.
Leah Easter, present. Lisa Nguyen, Compliance Specialist, present.
Maggie Adams, Compliance Specialist.
David Scarpelli, Inspector, present.
Adam Higginbotham, Deputy Executive Director.
And it looks like Board Member Stanton, Board Chair Stanton is on the call now.
Good morning. It's snowing out here. It is me. I apologize. It's a little delay. Thank you so much, Vice President. I appreciate your support.
You're welcome. Go right ahead, Kai.
So we're going to start.
Roll call.
Okay. Start off on the mission statement. Have we done that yet and all that stuff?
We're at the mission statement, if you'd like to read that.
Perfect. Thank you. The mission statement of Nevada State Board of Cosmetology is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of those that obtain cosmetology-related services through the delivery of quality testing, licensing, inspection, and education services, a focus on consumer protection. At this time, we'll have comments from the general public. If there's none at this time, I would like to move forward for the subcommittee law review meeting minutes to have a motion to be accepted.
Brian Baltazar, I motion to accept the previous meeting minutes for December 7th, 2020.
May I please have a second?
Yes.
Board Member Harris, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the review of hair braiding licenses and the requirements. This is the information regarding the subcommittee research in hair braiding.
Sure, Board Chair Stanton, this is Leah Easter. If you look at your board pack or if you're looking online, it's the document after the meeting minutes. We did some research just to see whether hair braiding was regulated in any of our neighboring states per subcommittee direction. And I'm not sure that anything we found is going to be helpful to you because all of our neighboring states do something different. Just as a quick overview, because it's only 5 states, Arizona does not regulate it unless you're using what they call a glue method. California, braiding is not regulated, but you can't obviously use dyes, chemicals, etc. Then you have to have an actual license. Idaho doesn't have any braiding breakout. You have to be a cosmetologist, or they call it a hair cutter license, which we have hair design. Utah exempts braiding from licenses altogether. And Oregon does have a natural hair certificate, and that does include specifically shampooing of the hair. So just something to think about when you move forward.
Thank you so much for this information. This was extremely helpful. I am interested in possibly reviewing the natural hair care license if the board allows for that to be reviewed, because we are having Some challenges with just, and that's on the next conversation regarding the defined hair braiding. I guess I should wait for that conversation in regards to that, because that is what I'm connecting to. I'm looking at a lot of the information, like was said, as far as the stance on the definition and what we have currently, it seems to follow pretty much along the same guidelines: no chemicals, things of that nature. No licenses are actually required. So we are a step up regarding ensuring that the safety and sanitation, that they are aware of the requirements to keep the public safe. So that's a very good thing. Is there any other board members that would like to discuss this information presented? I think it's pretty straightforward, just regarding what the states have looked at across the board. Okay, if there's no comments at that time, I would like to move forward to reviewing of the shampoo technology license requirements and scope of practice.
Sure, and Board Chair Stanton, I believe our Deputy Director has a presentation on that. So if you want to share screen with Adam, you can go right ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, one moment. Good morning.
Good morning.
everybody.
Good morning.
Question before we move on forward. I'm sorry. I thought we were going to go to the next section. Can I state my question, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead. I apologize.
Because I thought we were going to go to the hair braiding defined. You know, talking about like the next subject. So we're not going to talk about hair braiding defined, or we just move on to the.
That's agenda number 4, Gwen. So I think Ty referenced we're going to be right after that. We're going to be to that one right after Adam's presentation.
Right.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Right. Yeah, the information that was that we just reviewed was just highlighting the research that was given by Leah regarding what each state was looking at. It was just straightforward information of the review of what we requested last week, so that we can have a deeper discussion on number 4.
Okay.
Go ahead, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Stanton. For the record, Adam Higginbotham, Deputy Executive Director. This presentation is for the shampoo technologist data that was requested at a previous meeting. As we look at the, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a little, let me change screens. I'm sorry, this one's not going to work. So if we're looking at the Nevada specific information when it comes to, I mean, for the shampoo technologist, I looked at what's going on at the national level, and I looked at what's going on at Nevada's level, and then we looked at what the risks are for the board to make a determination about the appropriate actions moving forward. Across the country, we've seen that the shampoo technologists, including in the District of Columbia, there are currently 30 states, or 59% of the country, that have shampooing currently under the scope of practice of another license. For example, the shampooing scope is under the cosmetology scope of practice or the hair design scope of practice. We've heard that Indiana and Utah have 2021 legislation that will likely or possibly remove the word shampooing from the license scope of practice, which would potentially decrease instead of increasing to 28 states, which would be close to 55% of the states that would have regulations specifically saying if you're going to do shampooing, you need to be a cosmetologist or a hair designer. There are 7 states, or 14% of the country, which Nevada is included, that have a specific license or registration for the shampooing service. And then there are 14 states, or 27% of the country, that have states that permit shampooing service without a license or a registration. Indiana and Utah again have legislation that may remove shampooing from the licensed scope of practice for cosmetologists, which would increase the number of states that have said you do not need a license to perform this service to 16, which would increase to 31% of the country. Now in Nevada, our shampooing technologist stats, we've had over 3,000 consumer complaints that the agency has fielded since 2016. We have had 0 complaints filed from a consumer against a shampoo tech. So we've never had a complaint from a consumer saying the shampoo tech did the service improperly that caused an infection, malpractice, safety, or some other product reaction risk. We have had 2 consumer complaints filed against the shampoo tech that they weren't licensed. So we've had a complaint that people were shampooing without a shampoo tech license, but we've never had an actual complaint against the shampoo tech. The shampoo technologist license, it started in October of 2015. And since then, we've had 131 shampoo technologists get licensed in Nevada. 78 of those shampoo technologists are currently active, which is 58% of the licenses that we've issued. And 53% of the licenses are in lapse standing, which is 42%. 77 shampoo technologists have obtained their shampoo technology training via their school enrollment. This means that the student was enrolled in a school and they transitioned into a shampoo technologist license while they were in school. 54% of the shampoo technologists that we've licensed have obtained a license through Cengage Milady's shampoo course online, which is a 50-hour course that they need to take. It's directly from Milady. And after the completion of that, they're eligible for the test. Currently, there are 56 out of the 131 shampoo technologists that we've licensed. They've transitioned to obtain another license. For example, that they were first a shampoo technologist, and then they've grown that shampoo technologist into another license, such as cosmetology or hair design. And currently with the risks in the service, with the shampoo risk, predominantly the area of the risk is at the consultation stage, where the scalp would be assessed to determine whether to move forward with the service or not. During the actual application of the service itself, the product is using soap and water, which is the foundation of executing infection control best practices. That's level 1, using soap and water. So throughout the service, they have that delivery of soap and water on the service. But prior to that service being delivered, if they do not know how to properly perform an analysis of the scalp and the surrounding area, that's where infection risks and along with the additional concerns of existing injury could affect the safety risks of the consumer. That's all I have, but I can be available for any questions that the board may have.
Thank you so much, Adam. That is amazing information. That was really surprising to see 131 technologists turn into something else in the industry, whether that be esthetician, cosmetology, hair design. That's amazing. That's really exciting information as well. I really like to keep the shampooing license and keep that separately. It looks as if it's strongly benefiting the support to have that separate than have that merged together with hair braiding. It also has a certain level of accountability, ensuring the safety and sanitation is implemented. So I love how that is required for both licenses. I love it. I would like to open it up to the floor to see if any other board members have any comments. I'm sorry, let's say public. I apologize, board members. I'd like to open up to the public to see if anyone else has any comments regarding the information presented before us today. There's no one at this time? Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you,
Thank you so,
Chairwoman Stanton.
yes, thank you so much, Deputy. That was absolutely amazing. I'm really shocked about those numbers and the turnaround, about how that encourages others to go back to school and to higher their education in that industry. That's exciting. I'd like to move on to number 4. The subcommittee is to review the following provisions of Chapter 644A of the Nevada Revised Statutes, to then make recommendations to any of the full Nevada State Board of Cosmetology, future opening meetings, discussions, etc. Okay, this is about defining hair braiding, the definition, NRS 644A .085. Leah, I would like to start off with you, if that's okay, talking about the information of the definition. I think we reviewed it pretty well in the board meeting, and we discussed it again at another date. And so this is all basically a nice collaboration of what was requested, what we're looking at, and what is defined so far. This isn't the final draft. This is just a review. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So this is on here because there was some discussion over whether hair braiding was going to include shampoo technology or whether we were going to specify it to not include shampoo. And so I guess this is the time where the board maybe hashes that out a little bit. On one hand, right, your discussion so far has been that the more we regulate, the more we have oversight on, the more we can be sure the consumer is safe. The flip side, and I think, again, our deputy director has some info, it seems like states are moving toward deregulating shampooing because it probably is one of the least risky, steps. And, we could be opening ourselves up for, like industry protection, right? It could be viewed as, right, we're trying to make a buck off shampoo and it's not that dangerous, So there's a lot of factors to consider because there are dangers to it. Are there enough? Should hair braiders be able to do this service based on the education and training they have? So I guess that's where your industry experience comes in, and you guys can talk about that as you'd like and vote when you're ready.
Now, I do just want to highlight, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the states that utilize the shampooing and they just went ahead and put it under the umbrella under hair design or cosmetology, they do not have the natural licenses at that time, am I correct, or the braiding licenses? I believed I saw 1 or 2 states that have the braiding license, but the natural hair license looked like it had cleansing shampoo underneath there, but not in the braiding license. And so if they have a natural license, they can shampoo, but with the braiding license, they cannot. Am I correct? Did I see that right?
Yeah, so natural hair and hair braiding seem almost to be one and the same when you start looking at it, but a lot of the states too almost have a little bit what we have going on, where it's not abundantly clear whether you're shampooing or not. It looks to read like shampoo might be allowed, and the things that are prohibited are more things like bleaches, dyes, obviously hair cutting, that sort of thing. So in Oregon outright says shampooing and conditioning is allowed by a natural hair cert, which again is very similar to hair braiding. If you look at the definition, our hair braiding.
So for the sake of the hair braiders that we already have licensed, and then if I can propose to the board a natural hair care license, what is your perspective on developing a license for that? Do you think that might be a little bit more challenging to have that there because it reflects so closely to hair braiding? Whereas natural hair care, you are required to go to school, whereas hair braiders, you don't. Is that something we can think about? What do you think about that?
Can I make a comment, board member? Madam Chair?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm looking here at, the hair braiding defined. And
Yes.
my question is, and I wanted to maybe get some, feedback from maybe Adam on this one. When you are actually, I can braid as well. I think
You're breaking up a little bit. We can't hear you. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat? We can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
It sounds distant.
Yes, okay. I thought I couldn't. Gwen, try to log back in and I will move forward with Leah until we can hear your question. Try again. Leah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Vice. Go ahead and finish. What were you saying, Vice President? I apologize to cut you off.
Oh, no, I believe she's just confirming that Gwen left.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking you, Leah, is because you know what it all in details regarding developing something that we do not have, and then requiring that to go through school and all that other fun stuff. That's just something to put out there to be able to give those that have a braider's license to do a little bit more, but now it's required to go to school because we are requiring you to have more. So if you want to do the washing, the shampooing, and then we can look at what that fully in details on a natural license. I believe there was some breakdown in there already. If that's something we could look at in the future. I believe Gwen had some information that she would like to add to that, but that's not sketched in stone. That's just me thinking out loud. And I wanted to kind of open it up to the public regarding that particular concept or idea. But following suit with all the other states, I do agree with them. The cleansing of the scalp does not need to go under braider, hair braiding as defined. It should remain a separate license accordingly until we can fundamentally get everything under order. There's a lot of people, not an extreme, extravagant amount, but there's enough to say, you know, those numbers affect the state altogether when we have over 50% actually saying this is something I love and I want to go to school. So and actually obtaining a license from that, well over 50%. So that's something to really take a look at too for school. So I would like to open it up for any other public comments at this time.
One thing to note, just to have in the back of everyone's mind. So right now too, you know how we have that shampoo license, but if you actually read the laws that we have on the shampoo license, they need to be under the immediate supervision of a Cosmo or hair designer. So consider too, if you have a hair braider that takes that shampoo course, if there's no Cosmo or hair designer, that shampoo course is almost null and void to them. So if you guys are thinking of, you know, having something separate for the hair braiders, like, for example, I'm just briefly looking at Oregon, Subpoint 3 says, to get that hair care certificate, you have to have proof that you completed some type of online modules. Maybe there's something that we can add to that license. You also have to complete this, and now this will give you that scalp analysis information you need. Or we at some point modify the shampoo definition and say, you know, the exemption to this is a hair braider who takes the shampoo course or something. Because if you feel that hair braiders need a shampoo, I guess is my point. If you don't, then, you know, there's no need. And I think Gwen is back on the call as an aside, if you can hear now.
Thank you so much. Gwen, would you like the floor now? Can you hear us good?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I'm having some computer difficulties as well. This is Board Member Harris.
Yes.
And can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so I was trying to speak earlier. I just had a few comments. So as a person who just received their braiding license, this is just some information. Inside the book, the My Lady book, the Braiding My Lady book, it offers hair analysis, shampooing, draping, and natural hair care. So with that being said, it's there, you just have to study for it. And then in our manual, in our law book, it says that you have to complete a 250-hour training course if you haven't had any braiding experience. So I'm thinking that they would get that experience with that. And then hold on a minute. Okay, hold on. And so yeah, so they teach you all of that as well. So I don't know about the separate licensing. And but it gives you all that. Everything you guys are saying right now, it gives you all that. Just as well, probably it's the same as that online training class from, I don't know what state it said, you could take an online class for shampooing. So it gives you that information as a braider, natural hair care and shampooing in the My Lady Braiding book. So that's what I have to say. If that helps, I'm not sure.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. It does help. It does help a lot. And you made some excellent valid points. There are 250 hours required if you've never braided before. There is some information regarding shampooing, the analysis of not just the hair, but the scalp as well. But one thing that we are highlighting is, remember it says natural hair care. We don't have a natural hair care license, and that's what we're discussing today, so that we can actually put something into place so all that curriculum does encompass. I think they merged it together because a lot of states, as you saw on the documentation, have either a braider's license or a natural hair care license. And what they've done is say, we see the value in putting it under a cosmetologist, since a cosmetologist must be present because you've never really went to school. Most hair braiders don't attend the 250 hours. They just receive it through taking the test, and they're very successful because they're licensed. And so because of that, and we're looking at the overall, I think the curriculum you're looking at is the merge between the braiders and the natural hair care license, which is genius on the ladies' part. I do love their information as well. As Pivot Point and a few others that have some great information for natural hair. So I think that what you're saying regarding the 250 hours are amazing, and that is what it is placed there for. I'm not sure how many schools actually even offer that particular curriculum, or where they can go to receive that 250 hours if they don't offer it. But I know putting into place that license that really will support cosmetology being present as well, a cosmetologist being present as well, will probably help what is already in place by law also. Does that sound about accurate, Leah, or?
So is your, just to clarify, so is your kind of idea to maybe rebrand the hair braider as a natural hair care and include some sort of additional testing or something to give that shampoo element to that?
Yes, actually, I'm thinking about just as the other state utilize it as an actual curriculum, as a license, that they will have to attend school to obtain that particular license, because we are merging together so many services under that, not chemicals, but utilizing you know, the shampooing, maybe, I believe on one of them it had, they can't use chemicals, but they can use tinting under natural hair care, like a henna or something. There's a couple of other things, and adhesive, things like that. So very good point what you're saying. And I guess that what my question was to the board, is that something we would like to have that as a separate license? Natural hair care, keeping hair braiders, because we have so many already licensed. I think that would be a challenge to take that away completely anyway.
Madam Chair, can I speak?
Yes, yes, sorry.
Okay, so I was looking, when I was reviewing the hair braiding defined, I can kind of vaguely remember when this license was put together and kind of how it happened, transpired. But I wanted to say, even though the hair braiders defined does not have blow drying, it's not actually feasible for the braiders to braid without blow drying. African Americans have a difficult time. Well, it's not even realistic, to be honest, to braid the hair wet. So I was even thinking that if we're going to give a license to limit the work that they're doing and limit to the doors being locked and limit the unlicensed people that's not out purchasing the license or taking the exam to get the license, then maybe there's some other, it might need to be revamped at this time, because I don't think we took a good look at it, because the schools at that time didn't have an opportunity to take a look at that information like we're having an opportunity to look at it now. But I mean, they're blow drying. You have to, my daughter gets her hair braided at a braid shop. She has overly curly hair. It has to be blow dried. You can't braid it without blow drying. So I'm looking here and I'm like, okay, we're giving a license, really not giving them effective tools to work. I mean, the right way, because they have to do it anyway. So I'm just still kind of confused about, how do we, allow the hair braiders to continue to work? Can I get some feedback? Because we do have a board member that's a braider. That just recently the braid license.
Just one moment. I believe we lost Kai. She's in the midst of trying to get logged back in. I believe she lost connection.
Okay.
It may be the weather that's causing this issue.
We do still have quorum just for purposes of the record, but because she's chair, we should give her a few minutes to get back.
Okay.
And then Board Member Harris, I believe Board Member Bramo is referring to you with our new hair braider, so.
Right.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, yes. I'm here. I'm just having some trouble with my, I'm on the move, so I'm having trouble with my, with my computer here. Okay, yes.
So we were kind of waiting for chairperson, our Madam Chair to come back. But my question was to you, because you have a braider's license. Have you started the process of serving clients yet?
No, because I've been braiding for years, just, family members and service and things of that nature. So I recently just got the license. So yeah, no, during the because of COVID, no, I haven't done anything yet. Well, yes, I've been in the business for so long. I think what helped me, because I've been in the business and I know about sanitation, I know a lot about hair care, and I've been to spas, and so that, I did have a one-up on probably a lot of people.
Right,
and education.
But I was sharing, though, Board Member Harris, is that it doesn't say blow dry in the hair braiding.
No, it doesn't.
And I was just wondering, how do you braid without blow drying?
Well, you just braid, like you said, if it's extremely long and curly, I've done medium length to short. I like to braid my hair wet. So I guess it's just a preference.
So it's just the texture of the hair, the length of the hair.
Yeah, well, you could probably braid it, take you a long time, but you can braid it wet. If you brush it, if you comb it through. It just takes time. It's longer, to braid longer hair. Natural hair is longer. So yeah.
Okay.
I apologize to interrupt again. If I could, Gary or Leah, if I could possibly get the phone number for our chair to dial back in. She has no internet connectivity and just phone capability. So she's going to need to dial in.
The dial-in number is 669-900-9128.
And that was 669-900-9128.
Correct. And the meeting ID is 986-9061-2678.
Alrighty, let me see if I can get Kai back in then.
Okay, and also, Madam President, Ramos, you're right. It doesn't say anything about blow drying, but it is effective. It's a little bit more effective when you do blow dry the hair. Because all natural hair care is natural hair care, right? With no chemicals. That's what natural hair care is considered. So it just depends on the texture of the hair.
Thank you.
I know we're still waiting for Board Chair Stanton, but would there be any interest in expanding what a shampoo license can do to include blow dry? Like, for example, if you were educated on both the shampoo and blow dry, and then a hair braider would be able to obtain that as well. So your shampoo techs would get shampoo blow dry, and your hair braiders could also test for that and get the same ability to shampoo blow dry.
Yeah, I think that would be, this is Board Member Harris, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. More education, the best. More experience. I think that'd be a great idea. Shampoo and blow drying separately. Thank you.
I think that's something that we should probably give feedback to from the other schools, because you're actually allowing people now to just pay for licensing without having any other background experience, because that shampoo technology license was created for students, potential students, not to have to pay the full price, and we're taking it into another arena. So I really, just as a member of the committee, not a board member of the committee, I just think that schools should be involved in defining scope of shampooing, defining scope of what more that they can do with just coming in off the streets, taking an exam and being licensed.
Okay, I could hear now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Snowing, nightmare. Okay.
And then Kai, I think Lou Suarez has her hand up.
Yes. Hi, Luz. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Hi, I kind of agree with Gwen regarding blow drying. I think that we're picking apart the cosmetology and hair design license. So originally, when we met with Gary to request the shampoo tech license, it was really because it was really to keep students engaged in their future craft while they were enrolled in school. So I'm not a fan of adding blow drying. If they want to do blow drying, then it's going to be cutting, and then it's going to be coloring. So then I feel like it should be just a regular either hair designer or Cosmo license. So I would say that the shampoo tech license is kind of good where it's at, and it should be left where it's at, in my opinion. Thanks.
Okay. That's good. Okay.
So what I was sharing, Madam Chair, while you were gone,
yes,
I'm talking about and asking Board Member Harris some questions, because she now has a hair braider's license.
Yeah.
And the question that I was asking her is how difficult it is to service a client without blow drying them. I've never serviced a client doing braids wet. I know my daughter has medium length hair and it's extremely curly. It has to be blow dried before you could actually braid it. So I'm just kind of like saying that maybe the schools could be involved in, if we're going to expand that license, or you're going to continue to give them a license, allowing them to do something that they have to do in order to service their clients. You know, Board Member Harris can braid wet, but very few people can braid wet, like very few people can cut African-American hair wet. You have to be able to dry the hair to extend it first. So I'm just kind of like where we are with this license. I remember when that braid license came about, the schools had to pick their battle. It was between this, and the license was pushed through. They still have to do these services, and that's where the complication comes in. They still have to perform the service with their clients. They have a license. How do you not, a client sits in your chair, how do you not shampoo them if they haven't shampooed in 6 weeks? How do you not blow dry them when the hair is wet and you can't pull through the hair to get the kinks out? So we're just allowing them to do something that has no education attached to it. And it's just gonna it's not gonna stop. Because you have to be able to make money, and I understand it. You have to be able to earn a decent living, and they pay good money for those braids, $100, $200 a head. And I'm not gonna turn it down realistically if I could lock my door and blow dry my client. So we as a board of committee members and board members on the committee have to take a good look at how much more are we gonna expand that particular license?
That's a very good point. I do honestly agree with both of you. I do 110% understand where you're coming from. How do you feel about, and let's say this, how do you feel about a natural hair care license where they have to go to school? And they have to, and that can go under the umbrella of, but a school is required. How do you feel about having a natural license? I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 states with that, as well as a side braiding license, but they're required to go to school. I would say about as required, whatever that is defined as, if you will, merging those requirements together to come up with the allotted hours required to graduate with the natural hair care license. So I'm asking your opinion on that too. Honestly, like I said, I agree with both of you concerning the shampoo technician license, as well as the braider's license. I strongly believe that cleanser needs to be removed out of there. But this is just, I guess it's not really attached to the conversation, but I would like to know how you would feel about, because I would like to present this to the board for maybe the next subcommittee about a natural hair care license.
Madam Chair, when you were gone, I think Board Member Harris read the definition of what Milady looks at our license as. And it had a lot of natural hair care in there, and it's shampooing as well. So, I mean, if you're going to redefine hair braiding, maybe we need to say this is what a hair braider's license is, or you can call it whatever, but maybe it should be attached to some type of a training if you want to be able to blow dry, if you want to be able to shampoo. But that's what the test is all about. It's from what she just explained, that Milady's hair care book has everything in there to do with the natural hair. That's why the other states don't have braiders license.
And absolutely.
Hair care don't have a braiders license.
That's true, but Nevada already does. And because we already do, and there's so many that are already licensed with that, is that something, and that's my question, is that something we want to look at to put that under the umbrella, because they're already established, and that's why we're defining that definition today. And as far as that curriculum, I explained to Ms. Harris that there's a lot merged together in that curriculum that really breaks it down. However, Nevada did not define that under the curriculum that was given at Milady at that time. So that curriculum has been developed, absolutely, and that is a study guide, yes. There's also some stuff on esthetician that they don't perform, but it's on their test accordingly. So that we're not saying we're adopting or that we're taking away, we're just solidifying what's already current. And then hopefully we can expand with the natural hair care license, or we're looking at merging more to under the braiding license and just calling the braiding license the natural hair care license, and now requiring to go to school with grandfathered those that have already have the license. So I'm just looking at the bigger picture, not just based on the curriculum which is produced, which we all know the curriculum comes out, pretty frequently with updated information. Unfortunately, some of those definitions haven't caught up to that yet. So I guess what we're looking at now is we all agree regarding cleansing needs to be removed. And the natural hair care license can be a different conversation at a later date. Does that sound okay? That sounds accurate. Okay. Is that good, Leah?
Yeah, if the subcommittee thinks that the vote is to remove cleansing, you can just have a motion on that. We'll bring it before the full board at some point. Once they give it their blessing, then we go through the process of essentially changing the rate. So yeah, you're good to vote if that's where everybody's head is at.
Okay. I would like to make oh, I'm sorry. Does any board members have any questions or comments at this time?
This is Board Member McCormick. I do. I want to know, I want to go back to, I just want to hear both sides very quickly of why we're removing shampooing from this or cleansing. We're saying we don't want hair braiders to be able to shampoo because it impedes too far into cosmetology. Is that, or we're saying there's the possibility that we could allow them to shampoo and blow dry under a braider's license. And the argument is that that impedes too much on cosmetology. Just trying to get clarity because you won't need to blow dry if you can't clean. So if we remove that, we automatically remove the other argument by default. And I think it's one that we need to have. So I want some clarity. Thanks.
I think the clarification on that is to utilize the shampoo technician license for further supportive sanitation and making sure they understand what the process is. A lot of the other states have utilized that information and just put it right back under hair design as well as cosmetology. The cleansing, I think, was not a part of the whole conversation in the first place. It was actually rather misleading statement because they're saying powdered shampoo. You can do that without cleansing the hair. And so with further investigation, we do understand that that's not always the case for everyone's texture. And so if you would like to shampoo, you can still shampoo. You just need that second license, which has already been the process for the last couple of years that it even has been put into place. So the main conversation now is saying if we don't allow blow drying and we don't allow shampooing, etc., they still, even if a shampoo technician does do that accordingly, they still have to have a cosmetology on site. So what we're saying is, can we develop a natural hair care license that encompasses all of those basic things, but requiring you to go to school, because braiding license does not require that, nor does shampooing. But the information is different. Ms. Harris brought up the information regarding Milady and the definition of, as well as the information that's updated in the curriculum, which does give everyone that information across the board as well. But we were saying to utilize that for the natural hair care license, if that's something that the subcommittee would like to vote on to push towards the board.
So the shampoo license, though, was only meant to be temporary to give students the opportunity to work, right? That's the one that's just the temporary license until they graduate.
That was the definition of, but that's not how, and that was the conversation with Gwen and Luce, and they were stating, and I totally concur, that was how it was supposed to be defined, but that's not how it is being utilized. And we have over 131 licensed at this point. However, 50 over, a large amount, over 50% X, Y, and Z has utilized that license to move forward in their curriculum as far as cosmetology or hair design, etc. So we were just trying to figure out a way to still honor those that currently have them, but make sure that what it was utilized for can actually be defined as, and so we can move forward with how it was supposed to be utilized. With, yes, students, giving them those opportunities to actually work in a salon while they're still enrolled in school. So we're moving towards that. Unfortunately, that narrative, that definition kind of gotten away with us, and we have an awful lot of people with certain licenses.
So I remember raising this question before, which is the goal was that they would move into being a professional. They would get their license, but you have people who don't complete school, and it doesn't stop them from becoming a hair braider or getting the hair braiding license later. And it doesn't negate the fact that they had a shampooing license and they just didn't finish their education. So I think that there are some things that really have to be worked through as far as like the path to XYZ, because for me, the shampooing license is intersecting with too many things, but it's contradicting the purpose sometimes. So I don't know that removing it at this point without a really deep discussion is the way. I think we should put all things on the table, and including that natural hair care license, but really look at every aspect and the path to how we acquire it and make sure that it makes sense.
I totally agree. I just want to be clear, we're not taking shampooing license away. We're
Okay,
taking
that's fine.
cleanse out of the definition, the braiding, the cleanse, because it was stated that they wanted to use like powder shampoo, not actually washing the hair. When they say cleanse, they were wanting you to add the powder, and not every texture can utilize that as a cleansing aspect. So that it was just taking that out, kind of highlighting, redefining, that's it, of the braiding, but we're not taking away shampooing.
So cleanse the scalp is going to be considered separate from shampooing.
Yeah, cleansing the scalp, that statement alone, it sounds like there was some serious confusion there. Like I said, I think a lot of people were thinking you can utilize shampoo powder on everyone, and that's not the case. And so others were utilizing that statement as, oh, we can shampoo, which totally makes sense to me. So that's why we're removing that, because it is conflicting information. You're exactly right.
Madam Chair, can I speak one more time before you guys place your vote?
Yes.
Okay, and I totally agree with Board Member McCormick. We do need to take a good look at the licenses, because shampoo technology license was only designed for a particular reason. And it has, we have shampoo technicians now that's probably not even enrolled in school. They're probably just I'm not quite sure. Is that what they do? Leah or Director Landry is there. I think they can just come into the office, take the exam, pass the test, and go out and be a shampoo assistant, basically taking the jobs away from the students that the license was designed for. So I think we really do. I mean, we're putting a Band-Aid on it right now, saying that hair braiders need to get a shampoo technology license. But actually, I think we're all kind of saying the same thing, that that license was for a purpose. And if you want to do these particular services, these services needs to be incumbent with whatever your program is and whatever that license is going to be, not just to go walk into the office, take the exam if that's what's happening, because I think it's happening with a few. I don't think you have to be enrolled in school. I think you could be dropped from school and you still have your license, and you still can be working as basically as an assistant.
This is Gary Landry, Executive Director. The shampoo license originally was intended to serve all people, not just students, but this is the way it broke down. If you were a student, you're already getting the education and training to do it. So you didn't have to have any more education, no more training. After you completed 50 hours of training, you could go in and take the test and get certified as a shampoo technologist. If you did not go to school, you must enroll in the board packet that we prepared with Cengage Milady that taught people how to shampoo. You had to go through those courses, learn about shampooing and all that you had to do. Then you came in to take a test. That's the two different paths that you can go through. And the thought was someone who did the Cengage Milady work and became a shampoo tech would probably get enticed to become a cosmetologist or a hair designer and enroll in school at that point to advance their education. They're not required to, but it would help them to advance their education. So that was the reason it was all set up. But in today's world, most of the people, I'd say, I forget what the percentage, it's a very high percentage, are the students. There's only a handful of people who went through and got their training through the Cengage Milady courses and got their training that way. So the majority of students are the ones being helped. The ones who aren't students, aren't currently enrolled in a school, can enroll in a school and become a cosmetologist or a hair designer if they desire. That was the whole layout of the concept. If you want to change that, it's no problem. I mean, the board can change anything that they want to. You just have to look at the shampoo tech and make that a school program, not available to students outside the curriculum. And that would be something would have to be discussed and brought through the legislature. Because it's part of the law now, and it would have to, a legislative change would have to be done.
Thank you, Gary. And I think that was my conversation. How do we transition that, especially for those that are currently licensed? And then is that something we need to leave to the board to decide as far as how to handle the details of that, if that's what the board votes on and then what is the focus of the conversation? Are we redefining hair braiding and taking away or having the conversation of no longer having a shampoo technician license, because that's the level and that's the direction of the conversation. I just want to be clear before I make any motions accordingly to make sure that we're all understanding what will happen and what we're looking at and how this will affect those that are already currently licensed. So I'm fine with that accordingly. I guess my conversation is right now as braiding designer, it sounds like across the board cleanse needs to be removed. And we need to have the conversation for the next hybrid meeting about defining or making shampoo license obsolete or having them under a school only enrollment license. And what does that look like? Meaning you have to present that you are enrolled in school as a part of you applying for this license. And once you are no longer enrolled in school, your license is no longer effective. So if that's the conversation, I would like to open up that to board members. We can move forward with a vote on that if that's, if I'm understanding correctly. I just want to make sure I'm getting this correct.
Yes, the only thing I would say is that those things would be brought to the board for the board to execute and act upon. But the final authority for all of this is the legislature. So no matter what the board wants to do, we have to craft something that's explainable to the legislature why it was done one way in the past, why we're wanting to change it, and what the changes would be. Because that it has to sell before the full Senate and Assembly to get it passed.
And we can, as a staff, can take care of the details to that, right? I think everybody's pretty clear across the board what their concerns are and why, and what the actual goal and the focus is regarding those changes. So I think that would be comfortable to say staff can take care of the details regarding that, right? Or would you need the board to define that in detail as well?
We'll need some definition from the board in regards to the taking out of the cleansing. That's not a problem, but the shampoo technologist, how that's going to be transformed from what it is now to being a school-led program, we have to get some help from the schools, because they would be the ones talking about how they're going to teach it, how they're going to implement it, how they're going to do it. And if you want it to be something that if a student is no longer enrolled in a school, that they can't become a shampoo technologist, that's going to need a lot of explanation to me, because
right.
That's going to be something pretty difficult to sell to the legislator about why we have that in the law.
I agree.
To you,
yes,
Executive Chair, I think that once we present something to legislation to let them be able to see our state versus the surrounding states, when you look at it, I don't think there's any surrounding states issuing a license. They rather not issue you a license. Like California, you don't have to have a license to braid, because every program that they have, you have to have a license of some sort, whether it's a 200-hour license, a 300-hour license. They're still requiring that you have license. So I think that if we can just get what the surrounding states are doing, even Utah, even Arizona, they're not issuing a license without any attached to any schooling. We are really the only state that has issued that braid license and give them a license, and they don't have to have any schooling to it. When I was looking into that braid license, I checked. I had, when Mr. John was living, he did a lot of research for me. I still have a lot of that information. We're the only state that's issuing a license for braiding and give them a actual license than any of our surrounding states.
And I agree. I guess the conversation is, do we need to take that license away? That's what Gary is asking. How are we voting to take this license away and then putting in the groundwork to have a natural license or something so that braiders can cleanse the hair, blow dry, or are we adding to what is already in place? That's I guess that's the question. Should we just take that away altogether then, and then have the conversation on why, the breakdown, et cetera, which, like you said, there's already support there as well from the neighboring states, right? But because we already have that in place, what are we doing? Are we taking that all away? And then here comes the detail of, you are no longer enrolled, now your license is obsolete. That's going to be a challenge to wrangle that down. And that's what Gary's saying. How do we wrangle that definition down? But that's something that can be sought out by board.
Madam Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry.
discuss later.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Vice President, I apologize.
Not a problem. So and I believe we've touched on some of the subject matter that we previously talked about. And I know there was a conversation around having the license be specific to school enrollment. And I mean, whether we keep the license, absorb it into something else, I mean, obviously there's appetites for all of it. I would hate to see it being exclusionary in any way. And I think by tying it to school enrollment, we are purposely excluding individuals because if I'm understanding from what Gary had said, sometimes a student may not want to enroll full-time into cosmetology, and this could be an exploratory measure for them to understand, what really is one segment of cosmetology, what essentially a taste of cosmetology that will ultimately help them determine whether they want to pursue that career path or not. And other schools have different mechanisms in place outside of cosmetology for exploratory students. And obviously we don't have that kind of mechanism, but I kind of see this license as that. Now, is it problematic that you essentially just have to take a test and can gain the license? I would have to agree. I mean, there should be some training behind that to support the education and to ensure that the individual that passes didn't just simply YouTube everything or Google everything and, just drew a lucky hand and passed. Because I think someone that's dedicated could essentially do that without having any actual training or education, or being self-taught is also another issue for me. But tying it to be exclusive to students, I think really could potentially push away, even if it's a small percentage of students, could potentially push away some students. If I recall correctly, Gary, and please correct me, because if I understood it was just over 50% of students that hold this license transition into further education in cosmetology. Did I hear that correctly?
I believe that's correct. Adam has the slide on that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was about that percentage. Adam, do you have that slide we can maybe put up again?
Yes, one moment.
So I guess my point is that that's still a very, that's not a huge percentage. It is over 50%, so it's good to hear that over half of our students are going and exploring the career, but it also says that some students took a brief taste of what cosmetology is like, and then ultimately decided this is probably not something that they want to do. They didn't make the heavy financial investment into further going into cosmetology, which ultimately would have been a waste on their part, and ultimately perhaps a waste on our part as well as an industry, because obviously you want to cultivate the education of those that want to remain in cosmetology. And I think this is a great way for them to explore whether this is something that they want to invest their resources and finances into.
Okay. Brian, the numbers are about 42% of the total shampoo technologists obtain their shampoo technology license through the Cengage Milady shampoo course. So 42% obtained it by going through the shampoo course, and 58% obtained it by going through school. That's kind of
Thank you, Gary, Adam. I see that here. So yeah, I mean, these numbers to me do say that. Of course, numbers are open interpretation, but that's really the primary thing that stuck out to me, is that potentially a student is just exploring whether this is a career path for them. And just out of default, I just inherently have an issue with making anything exclusionary. We want to be as a welcoming of an industry as possible. And by tying this to admission status or enrollment status, I'm uncomfortable with that.
Very good. Thank you so much, Vice President. That's actually some very, very good points as well.
Can I
yes,
just
madam.
Gwen Bramo, can I say something to Vice Chair Baltazar? And I totally agree with you. I think that you know, like Director Landry has stated before, the two purposes, but I think that holding on to a shampoo license renewal after renewal and you haven't made a decision, I think it's basically taking away from what the license was really meant for. If you're going to attend school and you don't want to make that investment, you receive your license, and when the license expires, it expires. You know, that gives you whatever, 2 years, 4 years to make a decision if you're going to attend school or not. I think it just has to be so that we can have a better control of the reason why they have the license. I mean, if we're going to make it appetizing for people that if you want to enter, because I think what they do is when you are doing like a pre-occupation, I think there's a certain time that's tied to that. I don't think it's like an indefinite period. I think they give you a period to see, you know, it's almost like when you're in school, in the school contract, you have to have so many days to see if you like the school, and you can opt out of the contract in so many days. So I think that if the license was similar to that you just have a license and if the license lasts you 2 years and it doesn't expire for 2 years, you have 2 years to make a decision if that's what you know, want to do. Then, because if you're just doing a pre-course, I don't think it's indefinite though, Baltazar. I think they have some time restrictions to it.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that clarification. Obviously, I'm still learning a lot. My question also, and this is just completely off the side, is it possible for individuals to get tax breaks from, I'm assuming that maybe some individuals are using this as a tax break and are not really invested in the cosmetology field. Is that possible for individuals to simply get the license and keep it active and essentially apply for any tax write-offs or deductions, I know it's a little off the wall, but is that possible? And is that maybe a reason why people are holding on to the licensure? Because obviously that has no benefit to the industry and at all, because they're not an active participant in the industry, aside from holding an active license.
A very good question.
We heard from a few people that things like the makeup artist registration, they like those because they're good for discounts. Like if you go to Cosmo Pro, I don't know that we have anybody who's reached the level of tax evasion with the license, but we get a lot of people who Cosmos who will say I get a better discount with my makeup registration. So I think that's a motivator because that'll get you into places that I can't go, right? Like Cosmo Pro, that sort of thing. I think that's probably a motivation because it's really economical too, right? Especially the makeup artist license, $25. What's that saving you in, coupon world? So that's probably more likely.
They give you 40% off it.
Oh, is that? I'm gonna go get some report late today.
Me too. Well, thank you so much for everyone's feedback. I guess.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yes, Ms. Harris, you can go ahead.
Okay, great. Just a little bit more information about the test for the braiding. So the test, it's not an easy test. You have to read the My Lady book to actually learn. And you have to study. It took me a month and a half to study it. And the questions on the test are pinpoint. There's nothing you can skim over real quickly. So it's not something you just walk off the street and take the test. No, you have to really study and learn what it's all about to take the test. So I just want to add that in for our shampooing, natural hair care, and braiding. So it's in detail, the My Lady book.
Thank you for your comment.
I'm
sorry, go ahead, Ms. Harris.
Oh, that's McCormick. Sorry. Thank you. Board member McCormick.
Oh, okay.
Is that McCormick?
Yes. Hi. Okay, so how much is
Oh, there you are.
Hi. How much is the test to take for the hair braider's license?
The test is $125.
How much is the shampoo license?
$25, $50, something like that.
$25 for the shampoo technologist.
So I'm gonna make, so we can get a shampoo license for $25 with no experience. And right now that's for life. You can just keep renewing it. You can get a hair braider's license with no education for $125. So I don't see why we have to intervene with the hair braider's license when all they have to do is go down to the board office and pay $25 to shampoo hair.
Board member McCormick, that's actually, I don't think that information was correct. I was checking with Lisa, who used to be in the service team. I believe the course you take is approximately $50. And then once you pass that course, I think it's a $75. Is it 2-year license, Lisa? Yeah. 2-year license. So it's a little bit more pricey than something like a makeup or threading registration. Whatever 50 plus 75 is. Is that right?
So thank you for that, Leah. I think my point is in piggybacking off of what Bryant's with board member Baltasar said, sorry. We don't want to limit the opportunity for people to get this experience, and it being something that we're not going to limit in time then completely contradicts with someone who has a license needing to go back to school to shampoo instead of go down to the board office and pay their $25 and just start shampooing. Am I missing this? Like right now, hair braiders shouldn't have a barrier to shampooing hair because they could just go down and get that license.
I think they were talking about the blow drying was a major issue. A lot of people are utilizing that license, and not a lot of people, I shouldn't say that, because the record shows there's only been 2 calls regarding, concerns, etc. I think the the conversation was not just shampooing, but blow drying as well, and how a lot of those services are under the cosmetologist umbrella and not the hair braiding umbrella.
And I get that, but that goes back to what I think Gwen was saying, which is, you know, you are limiting specifically a certain demographic when they're not able to dry that hair, you know? So this whole thing needs to be looked at to be fair to everyone. And, you know, we really should not be removing anything without looking at how it impacts everyone across the board. Need it be us removing some license that exists and creating a hybrid? That's still my vote.
Just to be clear, most breeders have the shampoo license. Majority of the conversation have been had regarding breeders having a shampoo, or they have a shampoo technician. So a lot of this is already happening, is also what's going on. So that's why also their clarification needs to be had so that people are not being fined for something that looks contradicting. When they read it, it says scalp, cleansing the scalp, but then it's not really defining what cleansing the scalp looks like. And it sounds like it shouldn't have been in there, once again, as stated. So that's what the clarification is right now, just to define braiding. So as far as the shampoo technician license and all the other stuff, we just need to define braiding right now, because they have a shampoo license and a braiding license. And that one little line throws everything off. So I guess the conversation now would be, do we keep cleanser in or do we take it out? And the conversation from the board from the last meeting was to remove that, and in support of to have that shampooing license until it can be more defined. And we would have to have that conversation at a later date as far as what to actually do regarding the shampoo license and the definition of that, and leaving the braiding license as it is so that it can be better suited for those requirements for Nevada. So we have to kind of go back and revamp the whole thing, which nobody minds doing that at all. We're just saying, as of right now, to remove cleanse the scalp, as the conversation was towards the board, which ended up here with us.
I don't believe we should remove anything that could have an impact on how people are doing what they do until we look at this closely. And then like the changes that happen completely and entirely, not pieced out. And I think that the licensees who have it deserve that.
Madam Chair.
So they have, I'm sorry.
May I have the floor for the moment? Thank you. This dialogue is great. And I was, as you all were discussing, I was thinking that I could contact via email every hair braider and have them answer a survey based on certain questions where they can determine the impact statement from any proposed changes.
Actually, I like that, Adam. I like that. And I'm just going to be honest with you. The sentiment is going to be for those that already have those braiding license and not a cosmetology license because they don't want to go to school to the 1600 hours, you know, to keep it, you know. But for those that have the shampooing license and the definition of the braiding, that does support them twice over as it stands right now. So I would, I am very interested in those, that information actually, if it pleases the board, and then we can table this to a later date and still function accordingly as it reads. I love that idea. Very good idea.
I agree. I think that's a very, I'm sorry. I think it's a good transparent approach, and it reaches out to the constituents and gives them feedback, and it gives the information that you are discussing. You know, we have the tools to try to get that information for you if they complete the survey.
Okay.
Deputy Adam, can I ask you a question too? In that survey, would you be able to ask them about, would they, you know, I don't know how we could ask them without asking them about the blow drying, you know? because we really need to know. It'd be good to hear from them, because I'm sure they want to be able to blow dry as well. And then that way we can maybe transition to something else, but we need to hear from them, because they're going to be honest with you in a survey. They're going to say, oh yeah, I want to blow dry. Oh yeah, I want a shampoo. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then we can help design, maybe a license that's more feasible for them, to, instead of breaking it out and they having to get 2-3 license to do one thing. Maybe we can have one license, and those that's already there are there. And moving forward, they can be more accessible to work in high dollar salons, in places where they don't have to hide and don't have to lock the door. They can go right into their business, into those different little, there's so many of the high dollar salons where they can go in and do the hair weaves and do the shampoo, do the blow dry, and all those things that they want to do, instead of having to be, that demographic of people being set in little places where they have to hide.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can come up with a series of questions that will define the general topics that we're looking at, and we'll report them back to the board.
Sounds good.
I like that. So can we, is it okay to say we would like to table this until we receive that information, Leah, or?
Yeah, you can table it. You can even take a vote that you're having our deputy director do some research on it, however you want to do it.
And one thing to add, Chairman, is that the $25 that I stated was correct, but it's per year, and you have to get a 2-year license. So a 2-year license is $50 for shampoo tech and $100 for a 4-year license. So that's the cost, but it's $25 per year.
Okay. Thank you. And when we all return back, board members as well as public, please research further about how this affects the overall community, and those that are currently licensed. With the information that you have in front of you as well, we'll have further information about those surveys. But we need to think about how that's going to impact cosmetology altogether, as well as hair designers and the industry, and how if we pass this, there's no school required and not everyone can self-study. So I just want to kind of put that in your ear to please bring some, if you have any great information extra, to please bring that to the table, whether you see that at another state or in the law book, or as Ms. Harris had through Milady, that all information would be helpful. Thank you. Do I need a motion to make a motion, or I can just move forward to the last item?
You can table it, that's fine.
Okay, I would like to table, I'd like to make a, do I need to make a motion to table this or no? Okay. Good deal. I would like to move forward to the next item. Shutting down, sorry. Next item, talking about the Utah Administrative Code. The subcommittee to begin developing and drafting proposed tier licenses. It was highlighted on a couple of them for master aesthetics through Utah is how it's labeled. I would like to, is there a presentation with this before we move forward, or open it for the public conversation?
It's not. I was speaking to Justin, our DAG, about this. Because this is really involved, it's probably going to be hard to do in this kind of meeting. Well, I mean, just because we talked for an hour, right, about the word cleansing. So this is going to really. So one of the things he suggested was you could even vote, because the board seems ready to move forward, vote to have staff prepare something. So at least then when you're weighing in on a document you have in front of you versus weighing in on scratch. You know what I mean? So it might be better if you want to go that route to say, we'd like staff to put some proposed language together, bring it back to us. We'll give our feedback, and we keep doing that until you feel happy, and it can go to the board.
Okay, I like that. My other conversation is, if you look on page, I asked last week for the conversation to be had with medical, not any outside entities. I want staff only to have that conversation, staff only, once again, to have that conversation either with a board member as well present, if you like. I know McCormick, that's her one of her specialties as well, to be part of that conversation, if you like. One of us, the president. When you're speaking to the medical board, also the health department, microblading, when I called, that's under the health department. They actually govern that. So we need to know what their sentiments are if if we vote to move forward to have that under our umbrella. We don't need any law backlash regarding that. I know McCormick is very good and well-rounded with certain things regarding the esthetician programs too as well. So that's why I was throwing her name out there in the last meeting also. If we look on the collagen injection therapy, when I call it the medical board, that's under their nurses. They're licensed nurse practitioners. That's one of their services. I am not taking any services off their table that they actually govern. They govern those. Those two top things are the most things that really concern me. Everything else, I'm quite sure everyone would be on board with regarding the lasering, the dermal needling, things of that nature. I really would like that because that falls under the tattooing guidelines regarding the health department. That's how they're looking at it. And so my conversation, I know, was not solidified by board, so I cannot bring that forward to any of them. I'm just requesting that staff and one of a board member or something, if they wish, to be present on that conversation, asking them if that's something that is okay that we put that under the aesthetics umbrella. I would also like to know the medical feedback regarding injection collagen. I don't think that's probably a good idea. From the conversation, they were not. So I think that we need to really take a sobering look at that because we're going to have some major pushbacks according to the conversation that I had personally. Like I said, I can't go into detail, so I'm referring back to staff as well as McCormick if she's available to be a part of that conversation regarding medical and staff together to come up with an agreement if only if they're willing to agree with that. But everything else looks good to me. I have no, I know that a lot of services, a lot of the aesthetics can offer those, with medical insurance doctors, an actual doctor that's under, X, Y, and Z. So there's a lot of them that they're already familiar with, a lot of these services. So I think this would be a great standpoint for a second tier license.
I agree with you, Kai, and I would say that this is the point in time where we're all supposed to ask the questions that we need answers to and get the details to the services that we don't fully understand, or maybe we do and we have concerns with. So I definitely would, support getting more information on what you just specified, those microblading, and they are in different, they are covered currently in different, under different umbrellas. I think it's going to allow us the opportunity to justify why estheticians have the capability to do it. And I think that that's something that we need to be sure of before we ever create a license and, tell people that they're competent. So yes, I think that I would support more information and everything else. I thought I thought was perfect.
Ms. McCormick, I really would love to have your support on this, please, to walk close with staff. I am going to tell you, one huge thing is my biggest concern that I do not want to see happen. And this is just me. I'm concerned. Botox injections when you're developing and reshaping someone's face as well as the lips. I would really like in-depth conversation on that because there are some huge malpractices that are out there that people are doing injections in their homes on other body parts, not just in their faces. And so that's why I do not really want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, to be honest with you, with the medical malpractices that may happen. Especially when we're already having challenges with people not utilizing a shampoo license to apply color, you know? So I just want to make sure that they understand the restrictions. And so if you can further get that detailed information along with staff to make sure, hey, this is the requirements, this is what we're looking at, and this is why.
Yeah, I think it's definitely when it comes to Botox, I think we have a lot of supporting information on both sides. I mean, there's an emerging black market that is, when you go on YouTube, really, really frightening. And I think that it is important for us to define who's going to do this and make sure that these people are accessible to basically general public, because they want to do it on themselves at this point. So yes, it's another conversation to have. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. If there's,
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Vice President. Did someone?
Yes, I'm sorry, and I apologize about the background noise.
No, you're fine.
Madam Chair, so my question was, and obviously we've gone through a lot throughout the years. If I remember correctly, didn't we ban microblading in the past? Maybe about 4 years ago, there was a conversation about devices and practices that we were banning. And so, first, I just want to make sure, was that conversation had in the past?
And I'm so glad you said that. I do believe we did in the very beginning, I believe in 2017, because we were having some major issues. I think there was at the end of 2016, MRSA, and then that was a huge breakout. And then people were utilizing instruments and tools on people's feet and other parts of their body. That was a complete nightmare. And then microblading had just came on, I would say, make its huge wave over toward the northern end. And a lot of challenges were had at the time. And so what we did was say, that's totally that's totally under the health department. And it is still currently when I called. The reason they have that under their belt is because it is within the same family as tattooing. A lot of issues was happening with eyebrows, just a complete disaster. Things were not being done and trained as well as sanitized. So that's why we did opt for that. Plus that we weren't talking about a second tier license at the time. And a lot of the education, I know they have a permanent makeup license here in town, and that's where that falls under the health department as well. So you're exactly right. That was the conversation. And because this has become more prevalent and a lot of people are utilizing stations inside of a spa or a salon, it has become so popular, just like eyelash extensions. I think that's why the conversation is erupting again. Per also some interest with other schools in Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, would like to offer these courses. I, for one, like I said before, am waiting for further information, but from the information that I currently have, I believe that it should stay under the health department because of those issues that we had prior to, as well as the sanitation, like checking the rooms, inspections, things of that nature. We had a couple of rooms that were inspected twice. The health department would come in and say, hey, that's okay. And then our inspectors would come in and say, that's not okay. So there was some conflict of inspection issues as well. So I think that's why we're kind of coming to the table and having that conversation with the health department and saying, hey, this is what we're looking at and this is why. What do you think about that? And at that time, that's where I believe that will help us make a better, sobering look at if that's something we would like to do. My other concern would be that's way past the third layer of the skin. Estheticians do not go past the third layer of the skin because now we get into medical. So that's why that conversation is important to have, especially if we have other, the community, I should say, the community is interested in having that under the umbrella as to say an elevation. I, for one, am concerned, but hopefully some of this information will help us put our concerns to rest. But you are exactly right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do appreciate that point of clarification. So I guess my only concern is, and I actually would defer to your suggestion as well. I mean, it was for a reason we chose to allow the health district to oversee this service, this practice. And so really, if we're going to start re-examining things that we previously banned, whether it be services and or devices, I think it would only be fair that we do so with all of the other previous services and devices that we have decided as a board to ban for health reasons, or because we felt that it was better, it fell under the jurisdiction of another industry or field. And so I think that would only be fair. But if we had decided on deferring to the health district, I really think that that decision should stand.
I totally agree. And I think that's why we're having this conversation, because it's becoming more of a stronger topic. And I believe that the staff themselves are getting phone calls that are very, they're very consistent and persistent on having this conversation. And so because the board does not ignore our bosses, which is the public, we want to make sure that we still have that conversation if they were not a part of that conversation 4 years ago, and let everyone know that we're going above and beyond to explain and have full clarity on why we may or may not choose to have that under the cosmetologist umbrella. So that's a very good point. And I think that's why it's very important to have that conversation, because trust me, when I had those conversations, the health department and the medical board are very clear. So this will help us to see if their perception has changed. Also, very good point, Vice President, regarding having highlighted why we chose to ban those tools. And Ms. Leah, is it possible we can pull up that information? That might be a bear to try to find, but if we can find that and I do remember that that was a conversation and we chose to do that. If we can find that point of reference on why there was some malpractice going on, and we had a lot of cosmos calling themselves practitioners or medical, X, Y, and Z, aesthetics. So we need to make sure that why we clarified that and why we have a strong stance on medical and what was the damage to the consumer. There was a lot of people that were damaged consumer-wise. If we can bring that information to the table next round as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely look for that. And like something to keep in mind too, like, I don't know, we'll talk to people to see how it goes. But sometimes there's like overlap, right? Like you can get the qualifications two different ways. So we talked to the massage board a lot. Maggie came from the massage board. You know, if someone, let's say, is like massage therapist is massaging someone's face, we're not rushing in saying you're being an esthetician, you know, you're an unlicensed worker. So there's different ways where we're like, yeah, that kind of belongs to both of us. So it could be too that you get that dermaplaning ability because now your master esthetician license has given you that knowledge, or you get a health department certificate, right? And there's two different ways to do it. I don't know if it's going to be that way, but you know, I'm not as worried about people thinking we're stepping on their toes, like off record. I mean, calls I've had with nursing just way before this was ever a thing, just asking questions. You know, they're like, we wouldn't tell you how to do your job. You wouldn't tell us how to do ours. We might be doing the same thing, you know? So I'm hoping that we can get that. But either way, I'm sure our Director Landry, who we're all volunteering to reach out, will reach out and get us some info for an upcoming meeting.
That would be great. And I do want to make it very clear, we are not under any circumstances as an agency are looking to trump or push aside or disregard what has already been in place. What we're asking for is a partnership if that's something they would like to do. If they're saying absolutely not, and exactly what Leah is saying, that's the sentiment that I received as well. I'm going to need you to stay in your lane. That in a nice way, in a nice way. So, and I respect that 110%, and I understand why, and all the information required, etc. So, by any means, I think that it's just worth a conversation and see where we go from there. If the conversation leads to that direction, I'm okay with just going forward with what we have, with the exception of the two, because it affects the other agencies. If after we've had that conversation on seeing what they're like, but the full layout altogether on what they're looking at for a master aesthetics, I think is dynamic. I think it speaks highly to the level of education that we are opening our arms to. We are not ignoring those that have gone above and beyond for extra training and education, that have spent $30,000, if not more, for their own cosmetology training, excelling, and continue with that education every year. As an educator, you're still required 30 CEU credits just to reapply for your license again. So I think all of that is a highlighted testament to saying that we are embracing your education and that we are not ignoring you and what you have achieved. Just as if you have your AA, you move on to your, your BA, your master's. I think I applaud staff as well as the board to come together and say we need to acknowledge those that have further education. I would like to, so are we, should we table this as well? Is that the conversation for the next meeting?
For this one, you might just because there's a lot of talk about it, just make a motion to have staff reach out to the agencies that might be affected by any change, and then we can report back at a later time.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to have staff reach out to the health department and the medical field, reaching out to board member McCormick or any other board member that would like to be present on that call, to move forward with that research and information. May I please have a motion?
Brian Baltazar, I motion to move forward with the chair's recommendation.
This is board member McCormick. I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. One more thing before we move on to comments. Where are we with that? Because this one is coming up too, as far as the medical LEA, where we're saying master educator and all that other fun stuff. Did we solidify that we're taking that before legislation to have that corrected? Or I guess that's something we need to put on agenda again, or did we solidify that information?
I think right now that one was left as tabled. So what I'm imagining we're going to do after this meeting, because the estheticians tiers are going to take some time, is at the next law review committee, we're going to bring back obviously the NRS, the NIC that you had identified to look at. And that's one that we had talked about, but I think was pushed because we were going to do this first and determine what we're going to call everything.
Okay, yes, can we make sure that's on the meeting? Because if we're going to elevate aesthetics with a master, then we need to look at that as well. I know a lot of people are utilizing certain education to do that. And then I would like to take a look at instructors to have that automatically, because they're required to have 30 hours of education before they can even I don't want to say re-enlist. We're not in the military right now. renew their license. I think that's very important because they're required. You cannot even receive a renewal unless that's in place. So I wanted to have that in place as well, in support. Okay. Thank you so much. I think this meeting went extremely well. I appreciate all the feedback. This was actually very rewarding for me to see all the information put forward. And that shampoo breakdown was amazing, as well as the Utah one. This really puts things in perspective on the direction and the aesthetics and where we're going on the second tier license. I'm so excited for this information right now. And I think the public will be excited that they're actually being acknowledged for the education that they pay for and that they obtain past school. So this is exciting. I would like to move forward to the public comments, please.
Before you do that,
Yes, sir.
We had number 6 is select future law subcommittee dates. What I would suggest on that one is hold off on making that. You could make the next law subcommittee during the next board meeting. You could then vote on when the next law subcommittee would be, because we're going to be bringing a lot of information, it's going to take a while to get all this information put together. Y'all could make the suggestion that we can have an agenda item where the members of the committee can make a law subcommittee date at that time. It would be easier than trying to come up with something today, because I don't know when we're going to have all the information together. If that so move the chair.
I like that information. When is the next board meeting?
It's April 12th, Monday.
Now, I do believe at that law meeting, we're going over bylaws also as well, correct? That's going to be an awful long meeting as merged together with the subcommittee. Are you all okay with that, Gary?
I wouldn't have the law subcommittee during that meeting. I would vote on when the law subcommittee meeting.
Okay.
So maybe it's a week after or 2 weeks after, whatever the subcommittee members think, you could vote on it at that particular meeting, the board meeting.
Okay, I like that, because whatever's transpired information wise, we can get right on top of whatever you need at that time. Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I would like to make a motion to have us have a date at a later date on April 12th to create a date at that time at the board meeting. So for the subcommittee to create a date on April 12th after the board meeting for the next subcommittee meeting. May I please have a motion on the floor for that?
This is Board Member McCormick. I'd like to make a motion to set the time and date for the next subcommittee meeting at the next board meeting.
May I please have a second?
Board Member Harris, second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. I would like to move on to E. Have the open comments for public, please.
Hi, this is Luz Suarez from Euphoria Institute. I was just, I apologize, I got taken away for a moment.
It's okay.
I was just wondering, there's no literature, or perhaps I don't know where it's at, outlining exactly what we're looking at for a master esthetician. You know, I came in on Botox, and that's kind of a little bit, I think, further than what my original intention was when I brought it to the board. But I was wondering if there is a list of services that you all are looking at.
There is, Miss Luce, there is, if you, do they have that on the agenda? That should be the breakdown on the agenda under Utah, correct? Mr. Landry, it should be on page, if you go into Utah Administrative Code, this is just what they're looking at. These are just concepts. This is not sketched in stone. There is more work to be done, and that's why this is going to be tabled. There's going to be a conversation with the health department as well as the medical board. Staff will be present only, as well as one board member that has the aesthetics background will be present with that. And we are looking at just a few of these services here. Now, once again, this is not sketched in stone. These are just concepts. This is almost like an idea or a concept. About 2 or 3 of these may or may not make it. And so that's not indefinite, that's a vote, and that's overall. So this is just the conversation of what a layout looks like from Utah's perspective. This is not Nevada's perspective. And this is what they're saying encompasses their current master aesthetics, because they already have that program in place. But
Where
I'm
is
sorry,
that?
go ahead.
Where is
you don't
that
see it?
list?
Okay, if you go on there, it says Utah Administration under 5, number 5, where it's under subcommittee to begin developing and drafting proposed tiered aesthetics license.
Is it on the agenda?
Yes.
The additional documents tab, if you click on that for today's date, it'll have like a whole line of things. And it starts around page 12 of the additional documents on our website, nbcosmo.com. Yeah.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Ms. McCormick.
no, I just wanted to say that you actually nailed it. I think that this is the basis of conversation. I think all of the information we've been gathering to this point is so that we can look at everything. So there are some things that may not make it, but I think it's good to look at everything when we're crafting this next tier.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. McCormick. Is there anyone else that has any questions or comments at this time?
I was just going to note, board member Stanton, that I just did a quick control find, so it's not very scientific, but it doesn't mention Botox or injections or anything in Utah's laws either. That could even be beyond what they're doing. And so to your point, right, what Utah's doing isn't necessarily what Nevada is doing. We just don't want to reinvent the wheel totally. So we thought we would look at this state.
I love it. Absolutely. Only on when I was referring to the information when I was speaking to Ms. McCormick, when she has that conversation with medical board. I know if they see this regarding some of the highlighted information, and this most likely won't be presented to them in this way, I'm quite sure, but I just wanted to highlight where it says on page 2, collagen injection therapy, CIT. That's highly concerning. And so I just wanted to let medical board know that we're nowhere near taking any services away from their nurses that they offer with surgeons and in a medical spa facility.
So just a quick note, it says collagen induction therapy. So it's the same pretty much as microneedling, just to keep everybody's mind a little bit at ease until we meet.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an injection type deal with just, right. You know how sometimes the therapy, but it's still injections, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really quickly too. It's yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. Well, okay, that sounds good too then. Perfect.
Madam Chair, I think a lot of these services, and I'm so glad to be a part of the conversation because I think that there's a lot of clarity and in-depth conversation that we'll be able to have once we do have an idea of what we want this specific license to look like. And I'm excited to be able to break those down and to do however in-depth we need to understand what those services entail. So this is a great opportunity for everyone to learn a little bit.
Yes, Ms. McCormick, I would love to have that presented as well for the next table, the breakdown, because when I see, and I'm not going to, sugarcoat it, I'm just going to be honest with you. I see collagen, I automatically assume something else. If I see Botox, I'm going to automatically assume something else. And so when we have that understanding and making sure, because my, being in this industry for so many years, especially having a license under educators, unfortunately, not everyone receives the information as we deliver it. We know we tell our students to say, run left, but then they heard run right. And so I wanted to make sure that we are communicating exactly what we mean and the full definition of. So if our inspectors come in there and we have full needles throughout the face, fully injecting, creating a whole situation, that's not what that was meant to be, we can respond accordingly. So thank you. I'm so excited, and I'm excited to see the details in these services as well. Is there any other comments at this time? Okay, I would like to, any board members would like to have any comments at this time? Okay, I would like to now call for a motion for the meeting to be adjourned.
Brian Baltazar, motion to adjourn the meeting.
May I please second? See McCormick second that.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then the ayes have it. Thank you all so much. This was a pleasure. I appreciate each and every one of you. This is awesome. Have a good day.
Right.
Okay, you too. See ya.